Just now we have seen the human heart anatomy. So these are the learning objectives. First, describe components of the human circulatory system. Second one is compare and contrast the types of blood vessels.
Hello everyone, it is always great to start with an amazing fact and learn something new. So, today I have brought some facts for you. Do you know that the heart can perform its function outside the body? Also, how it is impossible as long as it receives oxygen, it will keep going even if it is outside the body or well separated from the rest of the body. Also, the heart can generate its own electrical impulses, which causes it to beat. Now, the heart is a muscular organ. It is as big as a fist. It also beats 72 times per minute. The bigger bodies have slower heart rates. Strange, but true. So, the human body needs a lot of amount of energy to perform it tasks efficiently. So, there is a need to ensure that the oxygenated blood and the deoxygenated blood are well separated. Because of that, the human have 4-chamber heart. The 4 chambers are right atrium, ventricle left atrium, left ventricles. So we have seen the 4 chambers. Now the heart relaxes and contracts to receive in and pump out the blood respectively. Now the atrium are responsible for receiving the blood, whereas the ventricles are responsible for pumping out the blood now. The right atrium is receiving the deoxygenated blood from the body, whereas the left atrium receives the oxygenated blood. Atrium receives the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the right ventricle. It is responsible for pumping out the deoxygenated blood to the lungs, whereas the left ventricle is responsible for pumping out the oxygenated blood to the whole body. So, we have seen the function of each chamber. So, let's connect these pieces and see how the heart works now. Now, first, the deoxygenated blood enters into the right atrium through upper and lower. So we have seen the function of each chamber. So let's connect to these pieces and see exactly how the heart works now. Now first, the oxygenated blood enters into the right atrium through upper and lower when covers. Now this blood enters when the right atrium is relaxed. Now when the right atrium contracts, it is transferred to the deoxygenated blood to the right ventricle at the time the right ventricle is relaxed. Now when the right ventricle contracts, it pumps out the deoxygenated blood through the pulmonary arteries to the lungs. In the lungs, the oxygenated blood gets converted into oxygenated blood. Now, this oxygen-rich blood enters the through pulmonary veins to the left atrium at the time the left atrium is relaxed. Now, the oxygen-rich blood has reached to the left atrium. Now, the left atrium is contract and the left ventricle is relaxed, so the blood is transferred into the left ventricle. Now the oxygen-rich blood is in left ventricle, contract and pump out the oxygen. Rich blood through the aorta, through all part of the body. So we have seen how the heart functions. Now you have to observe that the blood has entered into the heart 2 times. First, in the oxygenated form. So we can say that the blood is circulated 2 times. So the humans, like other vertebrates, have double circulatory system. You must have also observed that atrium walls are thinner in comparison to the ventricles. This is because the arteries have to transfer the blood to the nearby chambers, but the ventricles have transferred the blood through the different parts of the body. So you can conclude that the arteries have thin walls, whereas the wall ventricles have thick walls. You have also seen that the deoxygenated blood is blue color, but blood is not blue. Now, there are walls that ensure that the blood do not backflow when the atrium or the ventricle contract. Now, you must see in this diagram that the deoxygenated blood is depicted you must have also seen that the wings in the hands or inner legs appear to be bluish. The blood becomes dark in color. Because of the presence of carbon dioxide, but it's not in blue color, so we have been seeing the functioning of heart. And the different chambers involved in the working. So now let's have a note on the heart of other animals. We have seen the videos that higher energy demand leads to the chamber separation. So the higher energy demands, the more is the number of chambers, such as birds and mammals. They have and they are not having more chambers because they need energy to maintain their body temperature, but there are also some animals which do not need these chambers because they can bear the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, like reptiles and amphibians. They maintain the temperature according to the environment. There are also fishes which have only two chambers. That is, when blood enters, it directly goes into gills, from where it gets oxygenated and get transferred to the body. So we can say that the blood goes only once through the whole body of the fish. So we have seen the different heart of the circulatory system of human and also animals. Being so, let's see the various tubes and vessels which are involved in the functioning of the circulatory system. We just learned about the heart, which is the incredible organ that pumps blood all over your body to deliver oxygen to every last cell that needs it. But what does the blood move through in order to get around? Blood travels through blood vessels, and there are a number of different types. So let's take a look at this now. First, we need to be aware that blood vessels come in three varieties. These are arteries, veins, and also capillaries. The first two, which are like the main highways, are easy to define. Arteries carry blood away from the heart and branch out as they go, becoming smaller and smaller. Veins carry blood into the heart, so they merge and become larger as they approach the heart. And then capillaries are the smaller vessels that make direct contact with the tissue around the body and supply them with oxygen. So these are like the surface, streets, and alleyways. In terms of how oxygenated the blood is that travel through this vessel, it will differ depending on whether we are looking at the systemic circuit or pulmonary circuit. In the systemic circuit, the blood leaving the heart in arteries is oxygenated and starting its journey around the body, while the blood returning to the heart in the veins is oxygen poor, having transferred about 1/3 of it to tissues during circulation. In the pulmonary circuits, it's the opposite. Blood leaving the heart in the arteries in the oxygen poor as it headed to the lungs to pick some up, while blood returning to the heart in the veins is freshly oxygenated. Now that we have some terminology down, let's learn a bit about the structure of blood vessels. This will be quite similar regardless of the type of vessel and must have three layers, which we call tunics, that surround the lumen, which is the hollow part that blood flows through. This first is the innermost tunica intima, made of endothelium that minimizes friction as blood travels, and must also have a subendothelial layer made of loose connective tissue. Next is the tunica media, made of smooth muscle, cells, and elastic fibers. This is muscle regulated by the autonomic nervous system, which can initiate vasoconstrictions, where the muscle contracts and the vessel narrow, and vasodilation as the muscle relaxes and the vessel widens. This is important for regulating blood pressure and proper circulation. Lastly, there is tunica externa, made of collagen fibers of protection and reinforcement. Within this layer, if it looking at larger arteries and veins, there is a vasa vasorum, a system of much tinier vessels that supply the outer layer of blood vessels with nourishment. Now let's get more specific regarding to the type of vessels. Are necessary that they have to withstand the pumping nearby. Next, there are muscular arteries. Muscular arteries deliver blood to the specific organ, and these are most abundant. And lastly, we have arterioles. Arteriole is the smallest and the one that leads into the capillary beds. Moving on to the capillaries, these are the smallest blood vessels. As we said, these have just a thin tunica intima, sometimes just one cell thick, often adorn them, which are cells that stabilize the capillary wall. The lumen of capillary is very small, just small enough for red blood cells to feed through in single file. There are continuous capillaries which are found in the skin and muscle, and this is the most common. There are fenestrated capillaries which are covered with pores and allowing them to enter the nutrient from digested food and to allow hormones to enter. And then there are sinusoid capillaries. These are found only in the liver, bone, and marrow, spleen, and adrenal medulla. Capillaries are always found in capillary beds. These are network of vessels going from an arteriole to a venule. This typically consists of a vascular shunt, which is the central vessel, comprised of the metarteriole on one end and the true fat channel on the other, and then between 10 and 100 through capillaries, connected to the vascular shunt by capillary sphincters. When these are open, blood flows through the entire capillary bed, which is called microcirculation. And when closed, blood simply moves through the vascular shunt. This status will depend on what's going on in body at any given time. Through the capillary beds, we have moved from arteries to veins, so let's mention some things about this. While capillaries unite, they feed into a venule, and venule join to form veins. These look very similar to arteries, except their walls are thinner and their lumens are larger, and there is less smooth muscle in the tunica media, while the tunica externa is thick, full of collagen, fibers, and elastic network. Veins experience much lower blood pressure than arteries, and in order to prevent backwards flow, there are a number of venous valves that help direct blood flow, especially in the limbs where blood has to gain gravity to get back to the heart. With some of the finer details out of the way, we can safely zoom out and look at the valve, the systemic circuit and pulmonary circuit as a whole, and identify some of the key of each. There are so many individual arteries and veins with specific name. Far too many names right now, but we can examine a few diagrams, and perhaps one day you will learn them all. So that's all the lesson for today. Thank you, bye.